Hello, I'm recording this lecture to update the material that's in your AIA. This information is not found in other places in your AIA, and I want to make sure you're aware of some of these things. First off, this is just some statistics from the Health United States 2015 that go through and talk about the rate of overweight and obesity in men and women, and no surprise from what you've seen before is that there's a high rate of it. You have overweight and obese almost 40%, for females closer to 30%, but we see about two-thirds or at least 60% for females are either overweight or obese. So numbers haven't changed too much. This looks at children, again from Health United States 2015. We see we're doing a better job in these younger ages, but we do see a growing number in that it looks like the 12 to 19 range we see going up, and we see the 6 to 11 somewhat coming down, but still very high rate of obesity, higher than we want for our children. The other studies do show that if you're obese as a child, your risk of obesity later in life is increased. I want to point out some disparities in different ethnic groups, and we see if we look at a whole group like we did in this side, we're talking, if we look up at this year, we're talking anywhere from 10 to 20%, but we break it down and look at different ethnic groups. We see, for example, looking at Hispanics across the board are the highest rate for all the different age groups, followed closely by African Americans in this mid-teenage years there. So there are racial differences, ethnic differences we need to be aware of. Also, this came out in 2016 from the Journal of American Medical Association, and not too much new information here, but the thing that the authors pointed out is the slight uptick in those individuals who are in the 95% percentile, and I should say this a different way. You see a change in the 95th percentile, so the most obese, the top 5%, that value has gone up since the previous year, and we see the same thing for women. That 95th percentile has gone up, meaning that the ones who are overweight are massively, morbidly obese, or even more morbidly obese. Does BMI really matter? This is a study that got a lot of press in newspapers, articles, social media, etc. They looked and they found the sentence is a little bit confusing, but if you read it a couple times, listen to me, you'll get it. Found that nearly half of the overweight individuals, or 29% of the obese individuals, and even those who had obesity, the type 2 or 3, that's type 2 or 3 level of obesity, so more severe obesity, were actually metabolically healthy. So the idea that BMI is not everything, and that means a couple things for us. So when a person has a 27 BMI, they're technically overweight, but does that mean they're unhealthy? Maybe, maybe not. We could flip it the other way and say, if someone has a 23 BMI, does that make them automatically healthy? Well, no, it doesn't make them automatically healthy. So it's important that we look beyond the BMI. As you learned in other parts of the AIA, the importance of waist circumference, body composition. But there's really it's hard to deny the significance of obesity for your class 3, your very extremely obese individuals, this 40 to 59 BMI, and you can read the statistics there, but this is a pooled analysis, so not just one study, but you see those individuals lose anywhere from 6 to 13 years of life, and very similar to smoking when you look at that. Teenagers, we talked earlier about teenagers and the rate of obesity. This was an interesting study from 2015, looked at their ability to self-rate their obesity and being overweight. One thing to point out is that majority of teenagers did not overestimate their body weight. So we didn't have an outbreak of normal weight adolescents thinking that they're overweight and they weren't. So that's a good sign there. But we do see maybe a lack of perception for those who are overweight or obese. You see about half of boys and a third of girls with a BMI place them in the overweight or obese category perceive themselves to be right about the right weight. So you see those over here who are overweight and obese, and you have a significant portion there who said, "Oh no, I'm fine." And there's really a lack of awareness of excessive weight among overweight and obese individuals and adolescents. And this is a concern because they don't know that they're overweight, or they're not accepting that for whatever reason, and maybe not be as willing to make lifestyle changes or change their habits. Finally, this wasn't really covered in any of the other parts of the AIA, so I just wanted to point this out. The muscle dysphoria. This is where someone thinks they're very skinny or don't have a lot of muscle when in fact they probably do. And this is a concern. We see this as we look at the number of people who take supplements or maybe abuse steroids or other drug enhancements to help increase their muscle mass. So it's something we need to be aware of in our patients when we're working with patients who might come to us and they have, very focused on their muscle mass and their body composition, maybe to a point of severity. These people definitely need some assistance, some counseling, some other education to address this. So those are some updates in the area of obesity that I want to make you aware of that were not in your AIA.